So, that Direct yesterday, it was amazing. Probably the best Direct we've had since E3 2021, and I say that knowing damn well how good the February Direct we had this year was. That was a really good Direct, and somehow they topped it. And now, it was a lot of Mario stuff. Like, Pikmin fans are eating super well with Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Switch. Plus, confirmation that Pikmin 4 takes place after the bad ending of Pikmin 1, which eases my worries that the game was gonna have a bad story because I knew that Miyamoto was involved. Worries eased. And then, of course, Pokemon fans got the Scarlet Violet DLC and Detective Pikachu, too, so... It's not like a bad Mario Direct either, where it's like, okay, here's lackluster ports of older classic mainline Mario games, and a new Mario Party, and a new Mario Sports that's bad. No, this is like Luigi's Mansion from the 3DS is coming to Switch. New Peach game, we haven't got one of those since the DS. WarioWare. Mario RPG remake. And a new 2D Mario that looks good. Looks good. It doesn't look stale anymore. I mean, technically these games weren't bad. Like, I would say these games were good. They were just stale and basic and uninteresting and not good. So it's nice to see them bringing 2D Mario up to the levels of creativity that the other 2D platformers on the Switch have. Because Kirby Star Allies, Yoshi's Crafted World, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, now on support, they all have pretty good levels of, like, they all have some pretty good creativity. They have stories, they have way more interesting locales and design. It's all very creative for them, so it's nice to see Mario is finally getting out of its stale rut and becoming as creative and wacky as those games. Its art style. It looks like if you take the new Super Mario Bros. Art style and just make it actually good, then you get the Super Mario Bros. Wonder art style. There's the talking flowers and the weird wackiness, and the locales look actually new. And, the power-ups, the only new power-up we saw was the elephant power-up, but that is so different from any other power-up we've had. There's seeds that you need to collect. There's weird acid trip sections. Level gimmicks that are way more interesting than what we've gotten. It just looks way better. Looks like a return to form for 2D Mario, and I am excited. I am excited because it's a good 2D Mario game that's coming. It's a good 2D Mario game. I don't know, I guess they wanted to separate themselves from the new Super series because they got rid of the new moniker for this. Honestly, I don't think they actually needed to do that. I don't think they needed to do that. I know new is associated with the stale ones, and it's a bit of a dumb name in general. But it doesn't have to be associated with the stale ones. You can just make a good 2D Mario game and still have it have the new name, right? I just feel like it's a decent way to separate the 2D Marios and the 3D Marios. Guess we're just getting rid of the new thing though. That's fine. No, doesn't matter. So yeah, 2D Mario game that looks as good as the other 2D platformers on Switch. That's great. But alright, this is my problem with this game looks great, but it still has all the problems that I have with not just 2D Mario, but with the 2D platformer genre as a whole, but mainly Mario. And it's not just a 2D side-scrollers are bad and uninteresting, and 3D games are automatically better, and these shouldn't be worth $60. Because that's bullshit. I absolutely think Metroid Dread and Mario Maker 2 were worth $60. Because they were definitely worth $60. I got my money's worth and a half out of those games. Do not get me wrong. Okay? But those games do not have the problems that these games have. They are the exception. They shouldn't be the exception. They should be the rule. Maybe not Mario Maker 2. Mario Maker 2 is like a level editor. But okay, here's what I mean. Here's my issue. So, what do you think of when you think of, the progression of a 2D platformer? There is a string of levels on a world map, and you start on the far left side of that level, and you have to get to the far right side of that level. And then you unlock the next level, and then you do that again, and again, and again. So now, tell me what you described with the progression of the 3D platformer. And now you think, okay, well then this gets a little more complicated. So there's a sandbox style, and then of the sandbox style, there's more like the treasure hunt sort of sandbox 3D Marios, like, say, Mario Odyssey. And then there's a sort of also sandbox style with Mario 64 and Sunshine, where you're wandering around a hub world, and then you have a bunch of large levels that you can access and do a bunch of different open sort of missions in them to find the stars inside of each of those levels that you connect through the hub world. And then you have the more linear version of that, like Mario Galaxy, where you can still access the levels in all sorts of orders, and there's still a hub world, but you have less missions per level, and the missions are more linear. And then, of course, you have the sort of 2D platformer style 3D platformers, like Mario 3D World or Kirby in the Forgotten Land. So, there's one specific progression formula for 2D platformers, and then a bunch of different progression formulas for 3D platformers, some of which I didn't even mention. Now, my main issue with this is... why? Why? Is there any particular reason that there are so many different styles of 3D platformers to choose from when 2D platformers are stuck to just this one style? It's not even that good of a style. I'd say that the 3D platformers have a lot of the better ones. And you cannot convince me that you can't do that stuff in 2D because it's 2D. You can't. You can't convince me of that. Because I know it's not true, okay? There's plenty of adventure-based 2D platformers. Metroid Dread, Castlevania, all the Castlevania and Metroid stuff, so the Metroidvanias, all the indie game Metroidvanias are like, and then you're probably thinking, okay, well that's just Metroidvania, so that's two specific genres a 2D platformer can be. But then that's two, but an adventure-based 2D platformer doesn't have to be a Metroidvania either. There's Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, an open-world 2D platformer. And then if you're thinking of something more linear, then think maybe Mario Maker 2's campaign mode, which is still my favorite 2D Mario game. The reason it's my favorite 2D Mario game is because the linear paths it takes you on, while still linear, don't just go left to right, they zigzag all over the place. And there's a hub world, and you can do the levels in all sorts of different orders. And there's different characters and NPCs you can interact with in the hub world. And there's stuff you can do with the coins. The level design is a lot more varied. It's like a 3D platformer in 2D. And I made like a video. I made a video of an idea for a 2D Mario game before this one was announced, which was like a 2D game with the style of progression like Mario Galaxy. It was a linear one. It was kind of like the Mario Maker 2 campaign. And I think that while Super Mario Bros. Wonder looks great, I think that this idea was 10 times better. I'm just going to say my idea was 10 times better. I don't want to be egotistical because I know Nintendo is in fact better at this than me. If I was running the company, it would have gone under by now. Believe me. But at least this one idea I had was better than their idea for 2D Mario. Alright, I will say that. And as I said, you could totally do a 2D Mario Sandbox game or a 2D Mario Galaxy game. I really want a 2D Mario Galaxy game. Or a 2D Mario Sandbox game. Or something. Instead, we're just stuck with the old 2D platformer formula. And it's disappointing. But at the moment, it seems we're cursed to have the only 2D series as awesome as their 3D series to be Metroid and Zelda. And even then, 2D Zelda hasn't gotten a new game since 2013. To the point where I even pitched a new 2D Zelda game. Watch this. I pitched a new 2D Zelda game. So yeah, that's very disappointing. Very. I am still excited for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It looks like a good game. It's a good game. It's gonna be a good game. I'm just a bit disappointed. Have a nice day. Watch all my videos.